The place is here and the time is now. Let's take it round for round. And people gather around. Let's see who can win the crown. All the marbles involved. Football, baseball, or golf. Who's dominating the hoops? Who's talking false or the truth? Yeah, come and show me your war face. I'll show you my war face. No holds barred, so for your sake, you better show up in good shape. Valuable information is key to your domination. So focus on preparation. Online is your reputation. Yeah, it's one-on-one. You and me, ain't no fear in me. You will see. When it comes to this, you'll be wearing the number 23. In debate, I hold my weight, cause these sports I'm attached to it. Your legacy, get ready, cause I'm gonna set a match to it. Hey. Burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 65 of Legacy on Fire here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie television. We're so excited to be here. We've got a lot to get into. We're getting closer to the NFL draft. We got new college basketball champions. We've got some big moves with some coaches, and we got some NBA stuff that's about to go down. The NFL season never stops, and we'll talk at that. And so before we get into that, let me introduce you to the amazing panel, of course. My co-host here on Legacy on Fire, Mr. James Brown. James, how you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. Glad to be back for another week. Shout out to all the folks out there. Hopefully we got another good one here for you today.
All right. And then, of course, our man, a resident a panelist here on Legacy on Fire, Mr. Lamonte Thomas. What's up, Lamont?
What's going on? Glad to be back for another episode of Legacy on Fire. It's time to heat it up.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of a difficult one sentence, but we got to go ahead and rock it out. Let's start with one sentence. All right, so with this one sentence, we start off. Found out earlier today around like 11 o'clock-ish that O.J. Simpson, legendary NFL running back, legendary Buffalo Bill, Heisman Trophy winner, first man to get 2,000 yards in a season. There's some other things that we may not talk about too much on a sports show that has involved this, very controversial figure. But we found out that O.J. Simpson passed away today at the age of 76 from, I believe, pancreatic cancer. It's a very odd day. When I first heard the news, hearing that O.J. had passed away, there's a lot of conflicting feelings, and I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same way. Because on one end you're like, man, that's the juice, and then the other end you're like, that's the juice. There's a lot going on with it. So, James, we'll start with you first. What's your one sentence on O.J. Simpson passing away at 76?
I'm just keep it short, simple, and sweet, man. RIP to the juice. I know a lot of people may feel differently about him as an individual, as a person, how he led his life off the football field. But, when it came time for playing football, hell of a player. Like you said, Heisman Trophy winner going back to his days at USC, first NFL running back to run for 2,000 yards. I mean, for a while, he was the franchise for the Buffalo Bills. Like at one point when you thought the Bills, you thought O.J. Simpson. So, I know he had his trials, his tribulations, like many of us do. But, at the end of the day, he's gone now. Hopefully, he's where he wants to be. We'll just have to wait and see. But RIP to the juice.
Man, it's still kind of weird to me. Lamont, we head to you next, man. What's your one sentence on O.J. Simpson's passing?
Man, definitely got to be long live the juice, man. I think James put it elegantly. It's a controversial situation because, of course, of everything that involved his name. But in terms of what he was first known for, in terms of his run with the Bills and his contribution to football, overall is it's always going to stand. And as somebody, for me personally, my father is, as is the biggest Bills fan, and that run that they had that he had with the Bills, and what it did for that franchise, and again for football, is forever engraved. So no matter how much you feel about him, that's something that is always going to stay, and hopefully it'll be a part of the conversation. When we talk about what he left behind, and what his legacy is, and I'm sure he's survived by his family and friends. So long live the juice.
Ah, man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say my one sentence on this OJ situation is the juice is loose for the last time, and I say that in a way where it's just like, hey, look, man, what OJ Simpson brought to my childhood is different on so many fronts, because you had the Naked Gun series. I ain't gonna lie to you, I grew up watching Naked Gun, thought it was hilarious. He played the part really well. That's when I first knew OJ, before I found out on NBC as an on-field reporter. So OJ did a lot. And to be honest with you, in the Black community, when you look and say, look at what what you can do, and he was like one of the first players to really kind of go out there and do that thing on the sideline. So shout out to him on that. Now on the other front, obviously that's a whole nother dream. But I will say that the whole trial situation was like a soap opera growing up. And every day I came home from school, my mom was watching what was going on in the OJ Simpson trial. So I knew so much more about it because my mom watched it like it was Days of Our Lives. And to be honest with you, it had that feel. And like I said, no matter what you feel about the situation, and this is no slight at the families, because two people did die that night. It's just a really tough situation. So my thoughts go out to OJ's family. My thoughts goes out to Ron Goldman and Nicole's family for what they had to go through their time frame. So it's just a tough one, but unfortunately, we all get that time, and the juice is gone. The juice is gone. It's just weird to even say out loud, because this man's active on Twitter and all that stuff. So it was crazy. It was crazy on Twitter, but there it is. So next, our next one sentence. We'll go to a little bit more of a positive note, and the next one sentence talks about the national championship. UConn and South Carolina win the national championships for the men, and UConn for the men, and South Carolina for the women. So not James, but Lamont, I'll start with you first. What's your one sentence on the national champions of college basketball this season?
Can I get one for each team?
Yes, you can.
So I feel like, all right, I like this. I like this game. So I always try to make sure I come ready. So for UConn, my sentence comes from the man himself, Drizzy Drake. He said, back to back like I'm Jordan 96, 97. And I think for UConn, it's huge, that they went back to back, and it's their sixth championship since 99. If you think about it in reference, only Duke and UNC have 3 apiece since 99. It's UConn's sixth. So they've engraved themselves, in college basketball history, and the way that they've done it in this fashion is just insane, because they were smacking people along the way. They won I think every game by double digits, so they were killing it. Especially to only have 2 starters from last year. And then for South Carolina, I would have to say, my one sentence has to come from Jay-Z that says, you can pay for school, but you can't buy class. And I think that's what South Carolina and Dawn Staley is, to the women's game, because she did it in the absolute most classy way possible for them to win every game this season, to overcome everything they've overcome. They also, I believe, had a whole new lineup and won the championship. So, shout goes out to them and what they were able to accomplish this year.
All right. James, we're going to head to you next, man, on the one sentence. What's your one sentence on UConn and South Carolina wrapping up those national championships?
See, I think me and Lamont was in the same playbook when it came to UConn, because mine too was back-to-back champs. Them doing it again this year, like he said, their 6th title in program history. So winning it all in March Madness and an incredible feat on its own, but to do it 2 years in a row, like he said, with the turnover they had on the roster. And honestly, I'm pretty sure they're going to have another recruiting class coming in where they're going to be competitive again next year and probably go for a 3rd one. So, shout out to them for sure. Tough for a game, battling against Purdue and Edie and those boys, but they came out on top. And now, they get to enjoy the spoils of it, man. So shout out to UConn. Flipping it over to the women's game, Clark comes up short. Last year in the tournament, we saw where Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes got the best of Dawn Staley and the Lady Gamecocks. And this year, they said, you know what? We've been undefeated. We've been all the way here. Nobody's talking about us. Everybody's kind of overlooking us because of the hype with Caitlin Clark, because of the hype with Angel Reese and LSU. And, South Carolina just stayed competitive. They stayed the pace. And they ended up coming out on top, man. Undefeated season. Dawn Staley gets her third championship. And, now they go back to the drawing board to try to get that next one for next year. But, hell of a season for them. Undefeated champs, undisputed champs at this point. And, it's good to be on top, man.
Awesome. I have a one sentence for both, and I'm just going to simply say this: perfection is nice. And so I say that on the women's side because guess what? They didn't lose any games. They were amazing all the way through. They had a scare. Then they left my girl Cardoza wide open 4-3. They left my girl Carmella open 4-3, and she knocked that bad boy down. And they just, I can't believe she made the shot. But anyway, so that's perfection. Shout out to Dawn Staley, who is my favorite women's basketball player of all time. I've been a big fan of her since I was a kid. Wahoo Wild, UVA, all that good stuff. So I've always been a big fan of Dawn Staley. She's my favorite women's basketball player. Now, on the UConn side, the reason why I said perfection is great because guess what? They're 6-0 in that national championship game. In national championship games, they've never lost a national championship game. They're automatic, baby. Jordan, that was my next part. They're Jordan, baby. They're Jordan when it comes to the national championships. 6-0, 6 rings. They haven't been touched. You got to give them love.
96-97. That's a tough bar right there.
Yeah. And then you look at it, they are the they're the best team since night. They're the best team in this century. And they're the most prolific college basketball team in this century on the men's side. So shout out to them. All right, so there's our one sentence on the national champions. Congratulations to both national champions. See if they can do it again next year. Our next one, we talk about a guy who had a lot of controversy heading into after his first round exit. We had talked about maybe a Tony Bennett of UVA getting kicked out of UVA. We talked about John Calipari potentially leaving Kentucky, and guess what? He's gone. John Calipari is the new head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. I did not see this one coming. So, fellas, heading to you, one sentence. James, we'll start with you first. One sentence on John Calipari being the new head coach at Arkansas.
I think my one sentence would have to be, kind of based off his press conference, man. He's coaching who? Like he said in the press conference, he's met the team. There is no team. Like, man, that's hilarious. The fact that you left Kentucky to go to another job in the SEC at Arkansas, Jerry Jones' alma mater, he got the bag for doing it, plus the buyout on top of having to leave Kentucky. My man is set for the rest of his days. This is kind of like that last check before you go ahead and hit Boca Raton. My man is set. But the fact that there is no one here on the roster for him to coach, practice going to be looking kind of empty on Monday. I know they don't get back to it that quick, but, he's got some work to do filling out that roster. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get that done. He's always been able to recruit well, going back to his days at Kentucky, Memphis, getting Derrick Rose, all those guys. He's able to get players. It's just going to be, is he able to do it again in Arkansas? With NIL, with everything that's now in the game, can he do it one more time? Can he build that championship team? Can he build a roster that he'll be able to compete with come tournament time and win some games? These last few years, when it came time for the tournament, he has been able to get it done despite having some of those star players. Hopefully now at Arkansas, he's building it from the ground up. He'll be able to get his guys. He can get a chip or two under his belt and go out on top.
James, it's funny because when I was looking at the topic, I said, man, they got one player on this team. The only benefit of him having one player on this team is that pretty much, hey, guess what? You don't have to worry about no holdovers from the other team.
He can build it how he wants.
You can build the way you want. You don't have to worry about no holdovers from that team. It's all you. So that's the one positive. That's like, okay, at least he got that. He's going to get transfers from Kentucky. Lamont, let's head over. Maybe it depends on they have.
Bronny is in the portal. Bronny is in the portal.
LeBron,
I think LeBron does like Calipari.
Hey, man, hey, send them to Arkansas. You gonna start there, my guy. Lamont, we head to you. What's your one sentence on Calipari heading to Arkansas?
I'm gonna continue on my Drizzy Drake quote since I've been on it already, and I know he actually has a relationship with Calipari. He's always taking pictures of and posting that picture of himself, in the Kentucky room. So my one sentence is gonna be dreams money can buy, and that's what Arkansas has, right?
Ooh.
A dream that money can buy, right? Because that's what they did. Like James said, they were a nobody. Now they got one of the most prestigious coaches in all of college basketball. And he already comes from the SEC where he recruits. He knows SEC basketball. And he is the one guy that can, we talked about, that can bring recruits. How many one and dones does John Calipari have? They used to call him one and done because of how he's had so many, right? So he can, if anybody can come to a team that has little notoriety or has a long way to climb, is John Calipari. And him coming to Arkansas, him saying that that's his dream job, only makes him that much more dangerous, right? Because with transfer portal being at an all-time high, NIL being at an all-time high, who knows what he can accomplish, right? Like the floodgates are open. And so, I just say his dreams money can buy for Arkansas.
We will see if the Arkansas Razorbacks can turn things around and maybe get national championship number 3. It's been a long time since they won those back-to-back championships.
Look, this might be the only way Jerry gets a ring, man.
Facts. This might be the only way Jerry gets a ring out there in Bud Walton Arena, where they host multiple Walmart events out there. So who knows? Maybe they can get some of that Walmart money pumped in there. Get the Waltons to say, "Hey, man, need some help." And so we'll see what happens.
Some chips somewhere else.
Right? Like I don't know how we make it happen, but there's got to be a way where you can help us out here. That's all we're asking. All right, it is now time for us to head to the fire starter. All right, so our fire starter today has to deal with the NBA award winners. So now they haven't technically given out the awards, but these are all going to be our award winners for the 2023-2024 NBA season. And yes, the season technically is not over, but it's pretty much over. If you don't know who your MVP and stuff is right now, then shame on you. But with that being said, fellas, want to hear who your NBA award winners are right now. Lamont, starting with you, who do you have winning your NBA awards this season?
So we start with MVP, right? Man, so I feel like I want to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander win. I want to see SGA win because I feel like for where he's gone to, or for where he's come from to where he's gone, I think he deserves it. I think Jokic will probably win again. And as much as the argument is for Luka Doncic and all the stuff he's done this season, Jokic just it's just, the stats are just unbelievable, right? Like he's plus 12.6 when he's on the floor. He shoots less than than Doncic, but he's more efficient. Even as Luka is putting up these crazy numbers, I just feel like he's gonna win again, and I don't know if there's anybody who can do anything about it. When it comes to we'll say defensive player of the year, I think that I think Bam Adebayo has a good shot. Miami's made a lot of changes, but one thing that keeps them always in the hunt is their defense, and he's the anchor of that. So I think that Rudy Gobert might be able to beat him out because the Timberwolves are pretty good on the defensive front, but I think he's going to get that. When it comes to rookie of the year, Victor Wembanyama has it. I think it's his to win. I do want to give that honorable mention to Chet because of what he's done and how he's fought back. And I feel like his story is great. So that's rookie of the year. And then coach of the year, that one's kind of tough. I think we should say Mark D, OKC, because again, what they've done with that story, I don't think many people saw them coming. I don't think they knew they'd be coming this far, right? So I think that Mark, is it Dagnall, is his name?
Hey,
Uh,
Mark D's fine with me. I know where you was going with it.
right, but yeah, I think that what he's been able to do, and them being third in the West, I think you got to show him some love there. And then for six man of the year, that was my hardest. That's the one thing I can give to the Kings is I think Malik Monk will and should win it. I'm still disappointed in them because they were my pick at the beginning of this year. They were my pick to turn the new leaf and to make it, but I just think they struggle too much being consistent. But Malik Monk should be six man of the year to me. Did I miss any? Like most improved?
Most improved.
Most improved. I think we need that one from you.
So most improved, Kobe White, Chicago
Yes.
Bulls.
That's a really good selection. That's a really good selection.
Because when he was first drafted, he got a lot of flack because he was the man, at UNC, and then he didn't really pan out or figure it out the first couple years, and they were saying he was a bust, and they could have went so many different directions. But any given night now, he's giving teams headaches. Like the Bulls they've been up and down, but the one consistent thing they have is Kobe White, man. He's been hooping. So and he's established now. So I'm gonna give it to Kobe White, and shout out to Maxey because I know he's also been balling. So
yeah, he's been killing it too. James, we head to you. Where are your NBA awards standing at the end of the season?
So again, I feel like LT and I have been in the same playbook, but we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get this thing started. MVP, I feel like again, Nikola Jokic will win it. For this will be his third MVP. His third in 4 years because Embiid got it last year. While I think he is a favorite, more than likely he will get it because he has the Nuggets at the top seed right now in the West. I think the better story would be if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the OKC Thunder, won the MVP award. I mean, again, this is a roster that was decimated after Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and all those guys left. And, for a minute, all they had was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You get a Chris Paul. They battle their way into the playoffs. Then you lose Chris Paul. And he's been constant. Like, he's been the one constant for this team. He's been growing. He's been developing as a player. And now he has them in a spot where, they're possible title contenders along with the young pieces around him. So I feel like the better story would be if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins the NBA MVP for the season. But unfortunately, I think it will go to Jokic. He is the most dominant, quiet, force that we've seen probably in the last 20, 25 years, man. I mean, he's a quiet walking triple-double, definitely a quiet double-double whenever you need it. And it's you can look at his stat sheet and sometimes you're just in awe because you don't think he's really going off like that. But the numbers speak for themselves. He's a dominant force down low for the Nuggets. The way that they just able to run their whole team through him as a big, it's honestly amazing. So I feel like he will win it again. But if they get some Jokic fatigue, it'd be nice to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get in there and get the dub for that one. Most improved player of the year, again, I do like the Kobe White factor. I know the Bulls haven't had the season that they were expecting, but Kobe White's I think he's really found his role now. I know Zach LaVine's been out. He's been hurt for most of the season, but I feel like that kind of given Kobe that springboard that he needed to kind of, play the way he needs to get kind of step up and be that guy for the Bulls. I mean, at this point, it's real talk that Chicago might be moving on from Zach LaVine at this point, and I feel like they're comfortable in doing that because they know, hey, Kobe White's developed into that guy that they can really go to. So shout out to Kobe. I think he should get, most improved player. I know Maxey right now is doing his thing in Philly, but I don't see the Philadelphia 76ers getting rid of Joel Embiid, which is their best player, whereas the Bulls could be thinking of moving on from the likes of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine because they see, hey, we got a young guy in Kobe who's balling right now. Defensive player of the year, I think that will be Rudy Gobert. Just the fact that, the Timberwolves, they're top seed in the West. Really that's Rudy's purpose at this point in life. He's a defensive player. He's out there to get stops, protect the rim. That's all you really have him on the squad for. So as long as he's doing his job, he's always going to be in contention for defensive player of the year. I think he gets that. For rookie of the year, Wemby's going to run away with it. The fact that he has been as dominant as he's been, despite the fact that the Spurs are losing. Like he's averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds, and then like the blocks, man. The dude's a freak of nature. But then not only that, like we're starting to see where he's coming into his own. He's not far off from, if the Spurs get one or two more guys on that roster, man, we could be talking about them next year being in the play-in or possibly being one of those low seeds in the playoffs. So I think Wemby definitely runs away with Rookie of the Year at this point. Chet should be second, but I just don't think he's got enough juice to pull off beating from Victor Wembanyama. Coach of the Year, I think it should actually be Joe Mazzulla. Last year he was a nominee, probably a runner-up behind Mike Brown, but he's got the Celtics at the number one seed in the East, but they got the number one record in the conference as well. So I think Mazzulla should get Coach of the Year, especially, if Boston finishes this thing out and they have a strong playoff performance. I feel like it should go to him. Oh, let's see. Am I missing anything? Oh, Sixth Man of the Year. I think that's going to be Malik Monk. For a minute there, after Malik had left from Charlotte, it kind of looked like he was done. Like, it looked like his career might have been over. He had that short resurgence, looks like, with the Lakers. Then, he kind of found himself now in Sacramento, getting back with De'Aaron Fox, his college teammate. He's been balling now. So I feel like he carries that title for Sixth Man of the Year. He might have picked up a thing or two from Lou Will. Shout out to Lou. But, I feel like he'll definitely get that. I really don't think there's anybody else out there that can really take that from him. So I got Malik Monk for my Sixth Man of the Year. And I think that's all the awards at this point.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones. I will say this, y'all are pretty close there. I kind of got the same feelings y'all got, so I'm not even going to repeat all the greatness y'all just spewed because y'all kind of, but I will say this, what James, you said something about Jokic being, this quiet warrior, but it's the
he's
same
a quiet
guy.
force, man. And
he's like Duncan, but with way less personality, and that's saying a lot. Because Duncan was kind of like this quiet warrior, like, all right, Duncan's out here doing this thing, but he was really quiet. And guess what? He's the exact same way, but he's probably even more fun. He's
my man shows up, dominates, goes home, and asks where his horses are at. That's all my man does.
He probably goes to the grocery store and people don't even know it's him. Like it's really crazy.
You only know because he's tall as hell. You just be like, oh, that's Yoke, only because of the height. Like, if he was like 6'5" and under, he'd just blend in. You never know it was him, and he'd just be your average American, more than likely, your average guy, just kicking it, chilling, having a beer.
Well, how many things teams do to him, right? Like, because they know that no matter what their offense does, it always starts with Jokic setting the pick. It always starts that way. And there's nothing they can do about it. Like, no matter if you compensate for it, he's going to find an open man. If you front him or you double him, he's going to find an open man. If you give him one-on-one, you're toast. There's nothing you can do.
It's insane. It really is. So I mean, I agree with y'all. SGA would be my guy. That's my heartfelt pick. I've always been a big fan of his game. So, but I mean, if they pull it off, if he somehow wins it, I'd be cool with that. I know Luka's had a great season as well, but that's kind of where I'm leaning as well too, y'all. I couldn't see it in the other way. All right, let's head to the main flame. I know y'all gonna say to me, Darrell, man, don't you do this topic a lot? I have to. This is my funnest topic. It's one of my funnest topics. We always do it this time of the year. And so that topic is, which NFL team will surprisingly disappoint this upcoming season? Now, in years past, I think last year my team was Buffalo, and now maybe they didn't surprisingly. The year before then, I picked the Ravens because of the whole Lamar Jackson situation. So, hey, look, man, your boy has been wrong before. Let it be. All right, so just let it be. And so that's why I kind of want to see where this kind of stands here. I want to give a real quick shout out to my guy, to two of my guys. My man D Bland up there. Make sure y'all check out the Not Bland show. He does a really good job. I've had a chance to go on his show. He does amazing work. Make sure you check him out. My guy Raphael Hayes of the 3-point conversion. He said, "No, man, Anthony Edwards. We ain't forget. Ain't nobody forget about Ant, man. I just think that SGA been that guy, man. It's hard. Yes. But yeah, shout out to both of those great journalists in the field, man. Wanted to give them love. Now, with this main flame, I'm intrigued to see where this goes this year, y'all, because the NFL just gets a little harder and harder. James, we head to you. Main Flame. Which team will surprisingly disappoint this season? I know we got a couple months, but this is the fun part. Who do you got, James?
All right, let's see. I mean, there's so many teams, that kind of disappoint on a regular basis. The Cowboys, the Jets, the Browns, to a degree, the Bills come playoff time. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit this year. I feel like a team that's really gonna disappoint, just due to the lack of, fatigue. The fact that they got some guys coming up that's gonna have to be paid here shortly. I'm gonna pick the San Francisco 49ers, man. I really feel like, it's gonna start catching up with them here shortly. They made it to the Super Bowl last season, lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We saw last season, they dealt a little bit with injuries, having Hufanga go down in the playoffs towards the end of the season, having Dre Greenlaw actually get hurt in the Super Bowl. And, those are a lot of key pieces to their defense, along with a Nick Bosa that they have, Fred Warner. But we're getting to that point now where guys are starting to want to get paid, and you can't pay everybody. We see now Brandon Ayuk, he wants a new contract. It's almost time for him to come due. I think this is I think they're going into his 5th year, and, he wants to get paid at this point. But if you're San Fran, it's like, hey, can we afford to pay him when we know, well, Brock's going to be coming up here shortly? More than likely, they're going to pay Brock Purdy. If it's anything like what the current quarterback market is, that's at least going to be $50 million, as crazy as that sounds.
Stupid money. Stupid money.
Buku amounts of stupid money, especially. Don't get me wrong, Purdy's good, man, but to me, he's Tony Stark. He's good as long as he has the suit around him, which is Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Knight. If the suit is there, he's Iron Man. Without the suit, he's a smart man, but that's about it. So I don't know if he's $50 million worth, but that ain't my call. But yeah, man, I feel like the 49ers this year, I feel like they kind of come back to the pack in the NFC. I feel like there'll be some more teams that have added some guys, some veterans, that'll add some key rookies, where for San Francisco, they got guys now that they have to worry about paying. They got to worry about spreading the money around. And then the fact that, they haven't always hit on their draft picks. The last time they've had some top picks, they took Trey Lance in the 1st round. That didn't work out. He's now in Dallas. Prior to that, they took Javon Kinlaw after trading down with Tampa. They could have had Tristan Wirfs at right tackle, which could eventually take over at left tackle. They went with Javon Kinlaw, and now I believe he's with the Jets. So, they haven't hit on all their top picks. And so, it's starting to kind of show up and kind of like, rear its ugly head for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see San Francisco come back to the pack this year.
That would be definitely a surprise if San Francisco takes that step back, though. I ain't gonna be mad. That's just me personally. You know how I feel about it. They didn't treat me like a stepchild.
They didn't ran you clean over a few different times.
Yeah,
man.
They didn't hurt my heart a little bit.
Ran roughshod.
I got Raphael Haynes says the Packers, but I'm not surprised. I expect that fully from a Bears fan. Go Pack, go Bear, always down. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. You're my boy, and I love you to death, but I couldn't help myself. But we'll see how that. But that's my guy Raphael. I had to throw a little bit in there.
Shout out, Ralph, man.
Coming for me, man. That's Lamont. That's Lamont's
cornhole partner. That's my guy, boy. We
cornhole partner. So, Lamont, we head to you, man. Which team will surprisingly disappoint this year?
Lakers dynasty with that cornhole. Nah, but man, I'm gonna say this first off. Me and James we must be in the same round book somewhere, because the 49ers definitely they crossed my mind, even though they weren't my choice. I also felt like the Jets also crossed my mind. So with him mentioning that's a whole nother story. But I'm going to say my pick is, surprisingly, with the expectations they're going to have this year from their offseason moves so far and to come, is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
He took my pick.
And I think oh, shoot. Sorry. And here's my reason why. Obviously Saquon is there, right? So that puts up there with the 49ers making the move for Christian McCaffrey, right? And then their offense starting to gel. It's like the expectations are, you're coming off a Super Bowl appearance just 2 years before. They're expecting you to go back, right? I do think there's going to be some growing pains. I think that, they still have some questions on the defensive side of the ball. They get CJ Gardner-Johnson back. But remember, after that year that he had in 2022, he did have missed 5 games due to injury, right? So their secondary is very, very questionable. Even when they've been trying to figure it out on offense, we see that their defensive line has carried this defensive unit, right? Like, this secondary has a lot to figure out. And I think that we're starting to see that if they're not putting up a bunch of points, they kind of have more pressure on that offense. And I think to score as much and on that defense to stop people. And I think it's their secondary that's taking the brunt, of that pressure. So I'm going to say the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I still think they'll be good. I still think they'll be pushing for a divisional title. I won't be surprised if they don't win it. And if they do get an early exit, if they do make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and that's it. Philly was my choice because, and Philly's my team this year because I just feel like there's just something. Last year left a really bad taste in my mouth. You can't go 10-1. I mean, I guess you can obviously because they did it, but you go 10-1, and then they win one game to end the season, and they lost like 6 games. And part of that, though, in my opinion, was because Jalen Hurts was hurt. I mean, I saw him twice last year in person. In both of those games, in week 4 against Washington in Philly, he was hurt. He was nicked up. Then you could see it. And he was kind of pushing through it. He was hurt in the last game, and they still end up winning those games. But that's Washington. I'm gonna leave that one alone too. But you can tell that he was hurt, and you could see it. My biggest thing with this team is, can they get past all the controversy? They let go of the offensive coordinator last year. They bring in new people.
Let go of both of them.
Yeah, let go of both of them. So they just like, you got to go. And they're trying to figure it out. But there's something inside of me that says something is just not right overall. And I think there's still, like Lamonte said, they'll still win games. But there's something there that I can't put my finger on that says that Philly's not going to have, the best of years, or they will truly disappoint. And I want them. I don't mind being wrong. I definitely want them to disappoint in game 1. Shout out to the Packers in Brazil. Let's get out there. Hey, go get down. It's gonna be the love era in Brazil. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I definitely agree with Lamont, and the 49ers one could be a really interesting one. But before I move on, we got 2 minutes left. But I'll ask you this real quick. We all picked NFC teams. Is there an AFC team that you both could see, real quick, that you think, oh, maybe them?
Jets.
Jets.
I mean, but they always disappoint. When was the last time the Jets didn't disappoint?
They do, but I think they got let off, they got let off the hook because they didn't have Aaron Rodgers for last season. And I've even heard you say on this show, James, that you thought that he still probably wasn't set to answer all the questions they thought he was going to answer. And I still feel that way. I still feel like they got a lot of weapons, right? They still have no leadership. When it really comes to like the defined leader, everybody has a coach or somebody in the locker room that he's going to be the guy. Who is that on the Jets organization? Because I can't think.
Aaron Rodgers.
And that's what I'm saying. I still think they lack a leader, and I still think that, they're going to have some things to figure out. I mean, offensive line is still looking like they made a little bit of moves, but I just don't.
Tyron Smith was a nice addition, but I mean, he is an older guy, usually always picked up. Who's going to play behind him? Like, do you still go out and you draft left tackle? Then at the other side, you get Morgan Moses, again, another vet. When healthy, good, but again, he's one of those guys. He get nicked up, he misses games.
Right.
Then you're talking about the Jets possibly drafting a young receiver. Well, what does Aaron Rodgers hate more than the media? Young receivers.
Do they need more receivers?
But
you would not believe some of these Jet mock drafts that are out here.
I'm about to say some of them have them drafting a quarterback because they don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to be a politician or under center.
Hey, look, here's the thing that it wouldn't surprise me. And look, it might be a good move, especially if Aaron's not healthy. That might be the move. So if they draft quarterback, it wouldn't surprise me. One name that I've seen is Brock Bowers has been a name. They do need a tight end, so I could see that happening if they decide to go there. If they go receiver, I'll be very surprised. I think you go tight end if you're going to go offense, or you go on the offensive line per se. But who knows what the Jets will do? What about you, James? Who do you have? Is it the Jets? Obviously not the Jets. Who do you got?
I think it could be this one team, the Los Angeles Chargers. And I only say that because Jim is just getting back to the NFL. Yes, he's had success everywhere he's gone, but sometimes it takes a little time for that train to build up. So I feel like the Chargers, we could see them kind of stumble out of the gate. You got to remember they did lose Keenan Allen, trading him to the Bears. They did lose Mike Williams, letting him walk and go to the Jets. On the defensive side, Khalil Mack is getting older. Joey Bosa, we don't know if he's going to stay healthy. Secondary, Derwin James, when he does play, is he still that guy that they first drafted out of Florida State? He's had some injuries and some nicks. Harbaugh's going to have to get in there and kind of put his fingerprints on this roster a little bit. The good thing is he's got the most important position solved in Justin Herbert. You got your left tackle, but, he's got to get in there. He's got to make some adjustments. So I could see them possibly stumbling out of the gate. But even if they stumble this year, next year, I expect them to hit the ground running. It might not be year one, but year two, best believe the Chargers and Harbaugh are coming out blazing.
I wanted to say Pittsburgh. I don't want to do Russ like that because I want to see Russ succeed. I wanted to say Pittsburgh.
If Russ doesn't work in Pittsburgh, his career is over.
Right, he's got to work in Pittsburgh. He has no choice.
It's over.
But I'm actually going to go with Cleveland. I don't know what it is. I just got to feel, and I think it's because
always disappoints though.
I know, but it's just like, I mean, but they were in the playoffs last year, so you got to give them that much. And under the circumstances with all the quarterback changes, yeah, it's just something like. We haven't seen Deshaun Watson truly become Deshaun Watson. Right. We haven't seen Deshaun Watson become Deshaun Watson that we know. I mean, the one that was.
Here's the weird thing about Deshaun, though. Okay.
No. Well,
here's the weird thing about Deshaun.
Mm-hmm.
The last time Deshaun was like at the peak of his powers was that season. I think they won 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Watts last year in Houston. Like that was probably arguably his best season. And they only won 3 or 4 games. Prior to that, the season that they won the playoff game, well, that was the beginning of Mahomes' magic era because they were up 24-0, and then Mahomes comes back, circles the wagons, and it's honestly, Watson just kind of fell apart from there. He had the one good season after that, and then, he went through his trials and tribulations, and again, we know what the man was doing, but
right. But that's why I said
it's kind of like the Tiger Woods effect. If he's not doing his thing, he can't get out there and do his thing. So if you can pick up what I'm putting down on that one, good for you. If not, it is what it is.
I got you on that one. And like I say, it's just a vibe. I mean, Flacco had that team playing differently towards the end of the season. And I'm surprised they didn't bring him back. I thought that maybe that would have been a good move to bring him back to kind of but maybe they also didn't want the controversy of
that probably pierces Watson's ego.
Right. We don't need him there. And so I'll hate to say it, and I know that they still owe him a lot of money. This might be a do or die year for Deshaun Watson. If he can't play like he played while he was healthy last year and hope that they want to try to keep him. They may take, and Lamonte, I'm not trying to throw shots. They may take a Broncos hit and say, look, man, we got to go figure something out. They bring in Jameis Winston. I love Jameis, but I don't know if that's going to be the move neither. So I guess we shall see.
I take 85 million lashes.
Let's go ahead and finish this thing up and put out the fire.
Fire, fire, burn on. Fire, 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 burn on. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
All right, can y'all hear me? Say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ah, good. Like my man hit the microphone and Jane unplugged on me. All right, it's time to put out the fire. It does it to me every time. Let's time to put out the fire on this one. Now, I normally don't usually go last, but I'm gonna go first this time just to give you guys ready for y'all's put out the fire. And mine's is pretty simple. Hey. So my put out the fire is we've got the NHL playoffs about to go down here. And I'm very, very excited because right now, and I want to make sure I get it right because I I know that you got great teams like the Rangers who haven't won it since '94. They're in charge of things in the Eastern Conference. So they got the Hurricanes that are right behind them. They had a really good year last year. They're hoping to get back into or at least make a push to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Tampa Bay is going to be solid. The Caps are trying to get in. The Islanders are playing pretty decent, but. And then, of course, I want to make sure I get my boys right. Where we at? And then, of course, my guys. My guys are sitting at number 3 in the West. They won a championship 2 years ago. They're hoping to get back in there. The Dallas Stars, who are playing really good, they're doing their thing. They're at the top. The Canucks are having a really good season. So, in my opinion, the best playoff is about to go down. I mean, intensity, the way that the commentators get into it is different. And if you just know a little bit of hockey, when you're watching it, you're like, yo, this jank is intense. It's just the way they're flying on the ice. Everything just feels do or die. You make one mistake, it's over. That's just what it feels like. So very excited about the hockey playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs about to go down. So it's not more of I'm angry, but I'm excited about the NHL playoffs. All right, next on Put Out the Fire. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
James says he's going to go first. We're going with James. James, go ahead and put out the fire, sir.
All right. Again, on your part, Darrell, maybe I'll check out some playoff hockey this year. Again, I haven't really watched hockey since Charlie Conway left the game. But we'll see, man. We'll see if I can get in some picks. For my put out the fire, really if you get come back, bring you and LT back on the screen, because for this one, I'm gonna need y'all's input a little bit. I want to see what you all have to say. Who's going number 1 in the NBA draft this year? Who's even available to get drafted this year?
Edie.
I don't know.
Is somebody? I think somebody's gonna want to take the big man. It's probably a marketing thing. You're saying that they need to step their game up, and then I agree. But I would say between Edie, old boy from Kentucky, they're people I know that people are looking at. There's a few guys. And I'm a basketball head, so I mean I probably can name some guys people don't know, but it's not out there. It's not.
I can't name nobody.
And that's my point, man. That's my point. I don't know when it fell off, but the NBA draft has pretty much fallen off at this point. We don't know who the heck is available. We don't know who's going to what teams. The only thing you can really either predict or get excited about is the lottery. But after that's done, it's kind of they got the number 1 pick, but who the hell are they going to take? Because you don't know who nobody is. Because now the kids need to go to college, or they can go overseas, or they can go to the G League. But again, who watches the G League? I've never seen a G League game. Do they even come on TV? Do I have to catch it on Twitch or some shit later after on? Where do you see these players? Do they just magically appear out of thin air? Where do G League players come from?
You got to be a hoop.
Scoot Henderson last year. Where the heck did Scoot Henderson even play at? Nobody knows. LT might know. He's probably the only one that knows. He plays there now. Where did he play at before them?
You said Scoot?
Yeah,
where did he play before the Blazers?
I don't think Scoot was a.
See, he had to think about it. Who are these players? Players? We don't know none of their names until they get drafted. Then you got to do a full deep dive on who the hell did my team pick? I don't even know who this guy is. He's got 3 Z's in his name, and it's his first name. I don't know where the hell this kid's from.
Because the international players are bigger than ever.
See, the international players are better than ever. But here's the coup de grace. In the NBA draft, there's 30 teams. There's 2 rounds. That's 60 picks. Out of those 60 players, probably only 3 of them are going to be on an NBA roster in the next 5 years. And they probably won't even be star players. They'll just be players on the roster. When did the crop of talent get this bad for the NBA?
Well,
I don't think it's that bad. And I think that's the crazy part about it, is that there's so many people that can hoop. You don't know who's the star of tomorrow. And I think as a basketball head, that's what makes it so interesting, is that it's not all about the glitz and glamour like it used to be. We used to know who's going to be the next star. Now, the person who might not have a shot tomorrow may be the guy scoring 40 points in next year's NBA. And that's just because that's how close the skill level is. And people don't realize that, hey, whether you're a G leaguer or you're somebody who you gotta get this 10-day contract to make sure you still got a shot, they're in the same boat, right? Like they're in the same boat. Or you have a top college player of last year, they're all in the same boat. So like at any given moment that can change. And I feel like that for somebody who loves basketball, it's exciting. But like you said, on a marketing tip, it's terrible.
I don't know about it. And that's the
terrible.
thing. Unless this is how bad it's been. This is how bad it's been. All we've heard about is, hey man, the Pistons should select Caitlin Clark at the number 1 pick. How many times have we heard this year compared to actual players that are going into the draft? And I'll be honest with you, and shame on me because I don't study as much as I used to. When I was a kid, because you knew the players, you grew to know the players. 2-3 years in, I can't remember what year it probably fell off for me. But I know like the last 5 or 6 years, I don't watch the NBA. I mean, watch it for the first couple of picks. I don't watch it. To me, it's unwatchable. It used to be very watchable. It used to be a lot of fun to watch. But it's like you don't know the players. You be like, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who that guy is.
You know the reason why we don't know where Scoot went to college? Because he skipped and went to the G League. And that's what a lot of people are doing. And that's why.
He went to the G League. You never saw him play. You just saw him get drafted. Like, all right, Scoot Henderson. Right. Okay.
And he was a beast. And right now, like I can say right now, I know Mac McClung was the MVP of the G League this year. As somebody who followed him since high school, I watched some. Now I had to watch his G League highlights because just like James said, I didn't know where the heck they was playing these games at. I couldn't find better at that. But I would watch his highlights because Mac McClung was always somebody I love his game. Right. So and he was killing them in the G League this year. He deserves a shot, by the way.
Yeah, most definitely. I can agree with that. Raphael threw a couple of names in there for us. You got Raphael, Shannon Newton, Donovan Klingland, and the kid from Kentucky. And he said G Unit. The draft is weak. The draft is weak in his opinion, and he says, "Stop it, Lamont. Stop it." It's, and then our man Ty Montgomery says, "Luda."
That's a shout out to Ty.
Shout out
to Ty.
Dillingham is the kid from Kentucky that both of us
So that'll be.
And we still won't know where he'll go.
Right.
He might be a Wizard. I mean, the Wizards looking like they may get. They got a shot.
The Wizards could honestly take anybody. I'm going to try out for the Wizards at this point, and we might give them some juice.
And why not? I mean, go out there and shoot your best shot. I have no
look for 135. I think we can get a shot. I think we can get a tryout for 135. I heard 4 seats was going for 15 and a bucket of popcorn.
They still need to let you get some shots up because their starting lineup be looking terrible night in night out.
If I pay full price for a ticket to the Wizards game, I should be able to get in the layup line. I should be able to get in the layup line when the game starts. If I'm paying full price for Wizards tickets,
that's a VIP ticket. That's a VIP ticket. You got.
I need to be in the layup line. Like whoever is on the roster, like need to dab me up courtside. All that.
I get a selfie.
Full price for Wizards tickets.
Yeah, I get a selfie or something like that. Look,
that's insane.
There's more people in the seats when they have a concert there.
Right, because when they had the concert, like 2 Chainz was there, I think in the last home game. So it's like, they're like, hey, 2 Chainz is here, so we at least go watch 2 Chainz, for a $15 ticket. But see, that's the thing, I agree with Lamont. Marketing is really bad right now. They've got to figure that thing out, and I think they made a grave mistake by making it a 2-day event. What are we doing? Why is the NBA draft a 2-day event now? And nobody's going to watch day 2.
They don't even watch them day 1.
People barely watch day 1. And to make it 2 days is insane to me. They will have more people watching the WNBA draft this year than the NBA draft this year, probably for the first time ever. So shout out to the ladies. Shout out to the ladies. All right. Okay, wait a minute. Lamont, it's time for your put out the fire, sir. What do you have to say for yourself?
So I'm going to stick with the NBA. All right. And this right here is for the entire NBA Eastern Conference.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
I feel like what I want to say to them is the title of Metro Boomin and Future's album, We Don't Trust You. Because if they haven't, the Milwaukee Bucks got them their title, it was a few years ago. You got the Raptors got that last one when Kawhi was there. Other than that, when has anybody been afraid of anybody in the NBA in the Eastern Conference?
2014, maybe?
Never, right. Since
LeBron was there.
Since LeBron in the Heat days, yeah.
And it's crazy that every year, they have some good records. There'll be a team or two that can compete, but the question is not even who's going to win the NBA title. The question always when it comes to playoffs, man, who coming out the West? That's the question, because nobody's scared of the East. And I feel like I blame the Celtics and their inconsistency. And as for somebody who's supposed to be so prestigious of a team in the past 20 years, we don't trust you, right? When it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like their biggest mistake was firing the coach and getting somebody who can barely get 500. I'm sorry. I mean, Doc did his thing, but I still feel like that's the worst move for them. And it's like Miami has done their thing. They've come from the bottom and made it and made a couple runs. I mean, granted, you ran into a stacked Lakers team when you did make it there, or you ran into another team that was just their time. But like, when is somebody gonna be able to trust anybody in the Eastern Conference?
It's a really good point, Lamont.
Here's the problem with the East. We don't trust them because, in my opinion, the young stars play for some trash organizations, man. Like Tyrese Halliburton, young star, up and coming guard. He plays for the Pacers, though.
Yeah.
I mean, what? LaMelo Ball, talent when he is available, talented. People will watch. People tune in. He plays for the Hornets, though.
I feel like they're
Paolo
the team.
Banchero in a good spot in Orlando, but Orlando had drafted so many guards year after year. It was just like, what are you doing? So like the East has star players playing for the wrong organizations.
Yep. And they keep talking about trading Trae Young out of Atlanta, right? Like,
he'll go to the West.
Another star player playing for the wrong organization.
And it's just like, when? Like, right? Like, Pat Riley, help me out. Somebody help me.
Pat, what are we doing, my guy? Come on, man.
Be excited about the East again, because
we need to dominate.
Think about the 90s and the 2000s when we did have LeBron James over there, when we had that Derrick Rose Bulls team, right? When they were scary, when Paul George was on the Pacers.
Yeah, them Pacers teams were dangerous.
And he was dunking on LeBron. Like, when are we going to get those teams back? Like, I just feel like, and that's one of the reasons why the playoffs are not as exciting, because in the East, it's all like they're competing to be the first loser. Right. That's what I feel.
And it's sad because I think the only team really that can compete probably with a West team is probably the Celtics this year. Truly, like, and you can't trust them. And that's the sad thing about it. You can't trust them, but to me, they're a team that probably the most trusted team, and you can't trust them.
Yeah,
we can't trust them because their star player doesn't have the dog that he needs.
Nope. Not since that time he dunked on LeBron.
Number 2 is that dog. And the number 1 guy is like, he's good, but if you put that pressure on him,
and it's not just him. Like, I feel like that you can't be considered the top dog and you can win a game by 20, and the very next game you blow a 25-30 point lead and lose. Like, that's not real to me. Like, I'm like, again, we're not scared of you. Like that, right? Like, you have no heart to like step on somebody, like, and step on their throat and beat them. And show them that they don't belong on the court with you. Like, I just don't trust the Celtics or anybody in the East to do that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I always said Miami has the dog, but they don't have like scores. Like Jimmy will go off a game and then Bam will go off a game. So it really just kind of depends on, what about the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks are a team this year that have been like, they've had some Brunson has played his butt off this year.
But isn't Randall done?
But Randall's done for the year.
But you know what? They actually play better without him, to be honest. If you notice, like, since he's been out, like, Brunson's been balling himself, but the role players like DiVincenzo, they've been hooping, right? Like, I mean, hooping. I mean, like, those 20 and 8 and 6 or 28 and 4 games, like, you don't see that when Randall's on the court, and it's because the ball sticks, right? So, like, I like that Knicks team, but I just feel like they're kind of like Miami, where you say, Darrell, like, they're scrappy. They have a bunch of scrappers, but when it comes to go up against the big dogs,
what can you do?
You just gonna be an ankle biter. You're gonna be a chihuahua.
Man, we saw it firsthand. We saw it firsthand when they took on the Nuggets last year. They just couldn't. It was just outmatched. They were just outmatched no matter what they could do. I mean, they couldn't stop Jokic. They didn't have that. They didn't have the size. I mean, Bam had a really good series, but everything else was just kind of whatever. So I agree with you, man. The East got to figure it out, man. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Who knows when they'll win a championship again? West is stacked. It's embarrassing.
Mm.
All right,
All the
everybody.
young stars, all the good stars, they seem
They're
to
in
be
the
out
West.
west.
They're in the
They're on the
West.
good teams. They have players around them. They have draft picks.
You know what's weird
man.
about? I'll say this last thing. You know what's weird about is how does it keep working out? Because the young stars do get drafted by bad teams, but then those young stars go to the West and they make things happen. You know,
The
even John
Western
Morant.
young stars pan out. The Eastern young stars tend to don't. Like Cade
Yep.
Cunningham, been stuck in Detroit, hasn't been able to do much.
It's
They
bad
get
out there.
Jaden Ivey, hasn't been able to do much. Who was another one?
Coach.
Paolo's starting to find himself now, but you know, for a while they were like, man, the Magic, they can never just seem to get that draft pick right. Charlotte, regardless of where they pick in the draft, they just can't seem to get it right, or they get one piece and they can't seem to add anything else onto it. Man, maybe Eastern Conference teams don't know how to draft.
Well, be prepared because I think Charlotte's going to hire the first women's basketball coach to be a head coach. I think that's coming. I know they interviewed Lindsey Harding, the G League for the Stockton Kings G League head coach. So be prepared for it. I feel that they need a splash, and I think that's going to be their splash. I think we got to stay relevant because right now it doesn't look good for them. And there's nothing against Coach Harding because I'm not going to say she doesn't deserve it, but I feel like they're going to try to hire her for the wrong reasons. And who knows? You know, maybe that turns the tide, but they need a lot of work in Charlotte. A lot of work. Yeah. All right, everybody. What was that, Lamont?
They got mad pieces, but they're kind of like what James said that the who would you say that kept getting guards?
The Magic, like for years,
Magic,
the Magic just drafted guard after guard after guard.
A bunch of guards. I mean, they got a bunch of guards. They got Duke Bailey. They used to play with LeBron's son.
Amari Bailey.
He's supposed to be the man.
Mellow Ball.
Miller. Is Miller a guard? Miller's a guard, isn't
he? Miller's a forward.
He's a forward
pretty much, but I mean he has to do guard.
He probably plays more like a guard though.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how this NBA draft goes. I ain't watching it. All right.
Updates on my phone.
Yeah, right. I'll get updates on my phone, especially not watching night two. All right, everybody. That is it for Legacy on Fire, episode 65. We'll be back next week with episode 66. Special guest Cody Stewart coming back. We're going to talk. It's going to be our draft, Legacy on Fire draft special. So we'll talk all draft next week on that episode. For Lamont Thomas and James Brown, Lamont, you have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Nah, just glad to be on with the guys again. Yeah, y'all appreciate y'all at Bowie TV. Fans for watching this and all the likes and comments and shares. Shout out to all the people who commented and tuned in.
All right, James, anything you want to say before we go?
Hey, appreciate the fellas for another week. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. As always, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out all the great stuff we got here at the Legacy Maker Sports Network.
All right, everybody. And like he said, I'm just going to piggyback off of James. Check it all out. All the great shows, Monster Minutes. Make sure you check that out. Beck and them just came back from Richmond a couple of weeks ago where they were out there with Christina. They were out there doing some great work there. Rob Johnson, you know, I always say Rob Johnson, hardest working man. Is so
hardest working man of the network.
Yeah, I'm telling you, 87 shows, but he is on it. You hear me? He don't play games. Rob don't play games. So make sure y'all check all of that out. Thank y'all all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next Thursday for episode 66.